Sorry. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ram. Yeah. So welcome everyone to the 143rd Jayanthi celebration. This is also the centenary year of Sri Ramanashramam, making this Jayanthi extra special. So thank you all for coming through the pouring rain. I guess clear testament to the living presence and power of Bhagavan. So we have two wonderful visiting guests with us this time. Makes this one of the happiest Jayanti celebrations in a long time. Dr. Anand Ramanan, President of Sri Ramanashramam, and Sri V. Kritivasan from Ramana Kendra, Hyderabad, who is visiting his son here in the Bay Area. So Dr. Anand needs no introduction. He is the president of the ashram, son of Sri Sundaram, the previous president, and great-grandson of Bhagavan's brother, Sri Naranjanananda Swami. So he took over as the fourth president of the ashram 2 years ago. A successful doctor in Maryland. He's been practicing for over 30 years and has wound down his practice and moved for good to Tiruvannamalai with his family. So his return is a blessing for all of us devotees of Bhagavan. I've got to know him as a fellow seeker and friend over the last 2 years because of the Sri Ramana Maharshi heritage, and can say with full confidence that the ashram is in very safe, capable hands. So thank you, Dr. Anand, for coming all the way to California for the Jayanti celebration. You have our complete support and best wishes as you embark on this exciting next chapter of your life and discharge your duties per Bhagavan's will. We're also blessed to have Sri V. Kritivasan and his wife with us today. All of us have been immensely fortunate to have them join our weekly satsangs for the last few months. Mama has served the Ramana Kendram in Hyderabad in various capacities as secretary, vice president, and president. He's on the editorial committee of Sri Ramana Jyoti, a monthly house magazine of the Kendram. He has an extraordinary grasp of Bhagavan's teachings and a rare mastery of Tamil, Sanskrit, and English. So it's been a blessing and privilege to listen to his talks at our Saturday satsangs. His humility, self-effacement, and radiance have inspired all of us. I share with Karthik that I wish and hope I can be like Mama when I'm his age. So thank you for joining us today. And so for the program today, we'll start with a talk by Sri Kritivasan, and then we have the talk by Dr. Ramanan. There's music by Venal, Bharati, Peter, Prasad, and Gauri. And then as always, we'll end with Sharanagati by Bala, Veda Parayanam, and Aarti. So food is always next door. So please don't go without having food. And last announcement, we have a few desk calendars and wall calendars, the 2023 ones. So if you wish to buy them, just let me know while we have lunch. Otherwise, I'll request Sri Kritivasan to address us. Thank you.
Om Namah Pranavartaya Shuddha Jnanayikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prasantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Apara Satchit Sukhavari Rashe Yasyormi Matram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chinta Vihinam Hridi Chintayami. My humble pranams. It's a great privilege to participate in this event today. I feel very moved to be amongst you. We are gathered today to celebrate the Jayanthi of the greatest of all sages of all times. This also marks the 100th year of the formation of Sri Ramana Ashramam. In fact, it is not quite correct to say formation because Ramana Ashramam happened by itself. It happened without any sankalpam, any personal will. It just came up. 100 years back, in the middle of May, Bhagavan's mother fell ill, and her illness took a serious turn. On the 19th of May, mother was serious. And from the morning, Bhagavan sat with her in the room where she was lying. Kunju Swami has recorded that event in a very minute detail. He says there were people like Ramakrishna Swami, Niranjanananda Swami, of course. Kavya Kanta was there. Sundaresha Iyer was there. A number of people were there. And Bhagavan had his lunch in that room on that day. He did not leave the presence of the mother. And in the evening, it was quite clear that the end was near. So Bhagavan had both his hands on his mother, one on the head and one on the chest. He sat like that for several hours. When they requested Bhagavan to come for dinner, he said, "No, I won't move from this place." And at about 8 o'clock, the breathing stopped. And Bhagavan had his hands for some more time on the body of the mother. And then he got up and then said, "No, there is no pollution." And he had his dinner at the time. Kavya Kanta was watching, observing all these things very closely. And he saw that there was a divine luster in the face of the mother. There was no trace of death at all. It was glowing. He was very moved by that sight. And he immediately recognized that this is liberation. And after this, Bhagavan just became a Sakshi. He went back into his state of total absorption in the self. He did not take part in any other thing at all. No sankalpam. He just witnessed everything that happened later on. So there was this discussion. So there was this discussion as to what to do with the body at that time. And Kavya Kanta, he remembered about 5-6 years earlier, his wife had asked a question to Bhagavan, and Bhagavan had replied. Her question was, how should a woman saint who leaves the body, becomes a mukta, how should the remains be treated? And Bhagavan says that there is no difference at all between somebody who is a man or a woman, somebody who is liberated. They are all to be treated in the same way. Actually, his reply was, Jivan mukta na dahya syat. Dahyam should not be cremated. Tad deho hi suralayaha, he says. The body is devalayam. It is the abode of the divine. That was Bhagavan's reply. In Ramana Gita, this is there. So Kavya Kanta quoted this and then said, it is all settled. There should be only a samadhi for the mother. And they decided to take the body to the south side of the hill, and underneath the hill, a place was found, a samadhi pit was dug, and she was kept in the yogic posture, and the lingam was established on top. Kavyakanta did one more thing. I'm talking about Kavyakanta's verses because there is a very good link in what is going on in Ramanashramam today. He wrote 6 verses and called it as Saundaryamba Nirvana Shatkam. Saundaryamba is translation of Alagamma into Sanskrit. Nirvana Shatkam. There he says, in one place, Guhakara Shaktya. He mentions about Shakti. Guha. He refers to Bhagavan as Skanda, Guha. Guha Kara Shaktya, Ruddha Prana. Her Pranan left the body by the Shakti of Bhagavan. And then he goes on to say, Takshana Dhuta Samasta Vikalpa. He refers to the fact of all the vasanas just subsiding, the mind sinking into the heart because he saw that body glowing. He says that by that Shakti of Bhagavan's hands, this liberation was made possible. And this Shakti is a topic he is going to revisit again in a few months' time. Then there was this Mandala Puja for about 45 days. They used to come from Skandashram, all the people, including Bhagavan, every day in the morning, observe the puja, go back. It went on for some time. And it became difficult because the logistics was very difficult to have 2 places, to maintain 2 places. And in the month of November, says Kunjaswami, the visitors were too many in number on that day. And Bhagavan could not go back to Skandashramam. He stayed overnight. The next day, when people came to know that Bhagavan is at the foot of the hill, so many of them came, and it repeatedly for several days this happened. Bhagavan just stayed there. There was no sankalpam to go back at all. He just stayed there. In those days, the place where Bhagavan was staying was a thatched hut kind of a thing, and there was a mud platform on which Bhagavan used to sit. The sofa was donated by one gounder later on. That all came later, but he was sitting on a mud platform. The Jayanti, the first Jayanti in the ashram, took place on the 3rd of January 1923, 3 days from now, 100 years back. On that day, another event took place which went unnoticed. As I said, Kavyakanta. He was not there in Tiruvannamalai for some time. He had the habit of going around, finding places where he could do his tapas. So he was away from the ashram for a few weeks, and then he came rushing back to the ashram on the Jayanti day. First Jayanti that was going to be celebrated in Ramanashramam. He came rushing back. Natesha Iyer, who has collected all the verses of Kavyakanta, later on he records this. He says the moment he entered the ashram, he did not look here or there. He went straight to the hall where Bhagavan, the room where Bhagavan was sitting. And as he entered, Bhagavan looked at him. That look of Bhagavan was so gracious, so powerful. Kavyakanta stood there transfixed. He was mesmerized by that look. The physical impact of that grace was so much on Kavyakanta that then and there he composed a shloka and then he sang it. That was the first shloka in the first Jayanti that was celebrated. And it is so beautiful. He talks about the Shakti again. Devi Shaktiriyam Drishoho Shruta Janat Bhantakshaya Dayini. He says, in your look, oh my Lord, there is Jnana Shakti, Durga Shakti. That is what I see in your looks. Devi Shririyam Ambujakshamahishi Vaktre Sahasrachade. The 1,000-petaled lotus, that is what your face is. Vaktre Sahasrachade. Shririyam, Mahalakshmi is residing in your face. Mahalakshmi is Ichha Shakti. Devi Brahma Vadhuriyam Vijayate Vyahara Gudhapara. Saraswati Devi, Brahma Vadhu. Vijayate, he says, your words are victorious, and in your tongue, in your Paravak, Saraswati is residing. So all the three Shaktis he describes here. Icha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Para Shakti. All the three combined together. He has a darshan of that Shakti on that day. Then he goes on to say, Vishwacharya, Mahanubhava Ramana, Tvam Stautukaha Prakritaha. He refers to himself as a Prakrita, a primitive person, an uneducated person, a common man. It's what Kavyakanta says about himself. Vishwacharya, he says, you are Lokaguru, Mahanubhava Ramana, Tvam Stautukaha Prakritaha. How can I describe you? How can I praise you? He says. This Vishwacharya is very interesting because when he saw the vision of Bhagavan in that manner, he immediately connected. Because till the time, barring I think Frank Humphreys, who was a police inspector who visited him, there was no other Westerner who had visited Bhagavan till that time, nobody from any other country, even North India. He was known in that region. But he says, Vishwacharya, the whole world is going to see you as a teacher. He says, immediately after talking about Saraswati, he says he was a Vishwacharya. The Shakti that Kavyakanta had a vision of on that day took over. Bhagavan himself talks about this Shakti in a different way, of course. When Narayana here asked him, Bhagavan, you are a jnani. You should be able to save me. You should be able to remove my ignorance. Then Bhagavan listened to that and then he laughed and then said, a jnani does not have any sankalpam. Then he said, what will happen to people like me? He cried. Then Bhagavan said, I believe, a jnani does not have any sankalpam, but his presence has got a power. His presence has got a Shakti which absorbs prayers. He uses the word absorbs the prayers of people who are in front of him in his Sannidhi, and it grants their wishes. And he says it even can liberate a soul. He says, Bhagavan says his presence can liberate a soul. So this is the way Bhagavan himself described the Shakti. That Shakti took over from that day onwards. And the Shakti operated through B.V. Narasimha Swami. There's a progression of how Ramanashramam went through various phases. B.V. Narasimha Swami, the Shakti motivated him to sit patiently with Bhagavan to find out what happened in his life. He had to really draw out Bhagavan from his state of total absorption, patiently wait for him to give his replies. And then he put together a biography of, an authentic biography of Bhagavan. And after this book got published in 1932, I think, a lot of other Westerners like Paul Brenton, they read that book and they started coming. And then we know when Paul Brenton came and his experience he recorded as Search in Secret India, that was an instant success all through the world. And people started coming to the ashram. He did not move out of Arunachalam even for a second, but the whole world came to him. So much so that when his physical presence was withdrawn in 1950, his teachings became the vehicle for this Shakti to go all around the world. Immediately after Bhagavan's Mahanirvan, there were a lot of problems with the ashram. Niranjanananda Swami also passed away immediately, 1953. And Ramanananda Saraswati, formerly known as T.N. Venkatraman, he became the president at that time. And he had a lot of legal battles to face. He used to say that, talk about that. He used to come to the Hyderabad center and then talk about his problems. 34 cases were there against the ashram. And he says, I had to face them all. But I need not have worried. In his characteristic manner, he used to say this. I was just discussing with Dr. Anand Ramanan just now. He used to say, நான் கோர்ட்டுக்குள்ள போறதுக்கு முன்னாலேயே அவர் போய் அங்க உட்காந்துருப்பார். Even before I entered the court, I used to see Bhagavan there. His presence was felt. That is the Shakti. And many times I had to argue my case all alone, and they all got settled. But many people left, many devotees left immediately after Bhagavan's Mahanirvana. Having been in that glorious presence, they just did not know how to handle their own lives. Many of them left, not knowing that the presence never left that place, but they left. That was the time when Muruganar started talking about Bhagavan's collected works. He gave, every day he used to give in the evening lectures on Bhagavan's collected works, all the, Aksharamana Malai, Padikam, Navamani Malai, Upadeshasar, Devikalottaram, everything he covered. Every day he used to give a lecture. People when they came to know that Muruganar was talking about Bhagavan's works, one by one they all written. Kanakammal says, they all felt the presence when they heard Muruganar's. That is when we all knew that Bhagavan is living through his teachings, living through his words. Even today, when you take up a book of either Bhagavan's life or Bhagavan's works, he leaps out of the pages. Is it not? His presence is palpably felt. And this was another period in Ramanashram. There were a lot of financial difficulties. They overcame all that. And in 1964 again, almost simultaneously, Sri Ganeshan and Arthur Osborne, almost simultaneously, they had the feeling that we should start a house magazine for Ramanashram. As long as Bhagavan was there, it was not possible because he did not give any approval. What is it that I can say that others do not know? That's what he used to say. But in 1964, this magazine, and they had a beautiful name, Mountain Path. So beautifully conceived a name. That started, and Ganeshan, and he started writing about what was happening in the ashram, and that brought a lot more people to the ashram. Ashram started thriving. This is the Shakti that Kavya Kanta had, the darshan of that Shakti that started operating in so many different ways. Not only that, the presence can be felt, the Sannidhi, even today. Dr. Ramanan was saying just now that every day there is a miracle. There is no diminishing of that power. Today also happens to be the 100th. Today happens to be the Aradhana day of Lucia Carnelson. Lucy Ma. She was known as Lucy Ma, a German devotee, a great bhakta. She knew about Bhagavan, but because of the Second World War, she could not come to India. She was a great devotee. She had translated Bhagavan's talks into German, and she was trying to find a publisher. It was a great struggle. She gave up. She came to the ashram. And then, 1956 or so, this is about 6 years after Bhagavan's Mahanirvana. It seems, she says, one day she very jokingly told Bhagavan in his presence, in the Sannidhi, Samadhi Sannidhi, Bhagavan, I tried everything, nothing is possible. Now it is your responsibility. You take over now. After saying this, she came out of the hall, and she said within about 5 days, she received a mail from a German publisher saying that he would take up the publication. She talks about this 5 days and then says, 5 days is the time that it takes in those days for the mail to come from a foreign country to India. And so she says that German publisher must have been influenced at the time that she was praying to Bhagavan. Not only this, I'll just give one more example because there are millions and millions of examples, but I just thought that I would take two samples. Many of you may have heard about Adam Osborne, the son of Arthur Osborne. In fact, Osborne was a very famous businessman in the Bay Area in the 1980s. He was the first person to start designing the mobile computer. It was known as Osborne computers in those days. 1981, he designed it even before IBM PC came up. But of course, for various reasons, it could not run for a long time. But unfortunately, Adam Osborne contracted a very bad brain disease, brain related disease. It was a wasting disease. One by one, his faculties started shutting down. But he wanted to spend his last months in Ramanashrama. He owned up everything here. He went to Ramanashrama. That was the decision that he took. As a boy, he remembered going to Bhagavan. Every day, 4 or 5 year old boy, he would go and ask Bhagavan, Bhagavan, when will my father come back? Because Arthur Osborne was imprisoned in Cambodia. He was a prisoner in the Second World War, prisoner of the Japanese forces. So Lucia Osborne would send Adam, please go ask Bhagavan today. He would go every day, ask Bhagavan, when would my father come back? Bhagavan would just listen to him and keep silent. But one day he said, he will come. And within about a few days, they received a mail from Arthur Osborne saying that I am released now, I'm coming back, and so on. So Adam had such a great association with the ashram. He decided to spend his last months in the ashram. He came. He was not able to walk, so he used to be wheeled in the samadhi. His sister, Katya Osborne, she came to Ramanashramam to take care of her brother. But as days progressed, Adam Osborne's condition became worse and worse and worse. And Katya says, she has written an article in Mountain Path, she says, one day I went and prayed before Bhagavan. Bhagavan, I am not able to manage. It's just not possible for me to. In a very tearful manner, she says, she prayed to Bhagavan, you have to show me when it is your responsibility now. She says that after saying this, she came out of the hall. She was wheeling her brother back. And a man approached her. And then it seems he asked her, do you want help with your brother? Her heart leaped. But then looking at that man, she was just little skeptical. How can he was looking very short and very ordinary looking? And it seems that man said, I am a professional weightlifter. She was overwhelmed. Just now I prayed to Bhagavan, and this is what happened. So these miracles, as he says, every day, all of us have experienced it. Is it not? All of us, every one of us have seen this happen. Ordinary incidents, but we know that this has happened because of Bhagavan. There is an immediate link we are able to make to Bhagavan. So the presence has never left. That Shakti is doing its job in so many different ways. That same Shakti, I am sure, will continue to guide Dr. Anand Ramanan, throw a protective armor around him to face everything that needs to be faced. It will infuse him with a lot of ideas to take the ashram through many more glorious days. It will continue to be the center of a spiritual attraction to sincere devotees all over the world. He is still spinning his web of grace and throwing it all around, but the center happens to be Ramana Ashramam still. And it's heaven of peace. Nothing has diminished there. We know that it is unlike any other place that you get into. Whatever happens in the outside world, the activities in the ashram, they continue to go on. In the month of August, I happened to visit the ashram. Unfortunately, that was the day that Manianna passed away. I could see the grief in everybody's faces, but nothing was stopped in the ashram. Everything, every single thing went on as usual. That is a remarkable thing. And it will continue to happen that way by the Shakti that Kavyakanta had 100 years back, the darshan that he had 100 years back, that Shakti will continue to guide everybody. And assurances of Bhagavan, we can always remember. So on this holy day, our prayer should be, my Lord, please grant us a flood of love for your lotus feet. Only He can give us that love. On our own, we cannot love Him. He has to make us love Him. That should be our prayer. With this, I will end my speech. Thank you very much.
Antaryasha bahir vidututimiram jyotirmayam shashvatam sthanam prapya virajate vinamatam ajnanam unmulayan pashyan vishmavedamullasadiyo vishvashapare parah tasmai shri ramanaya lokaguruve shokasya hantre namaha. Dear brothers and sisters in Sri Bhagavan, on this path to self-realization, this verse is from Ramana Chatvarimsat, and the meaning is he is resplendent, having arrived at the eternal status of light, which chases away the darkness inside and outside. He strikes at the root of ignorance of those who bow down to him. Even when he perceives the universe, he is beyond it, on its other shore, shining. Salutations to such a one, to Sri Ramana, the master of the worlds and the slayer of ignorance and grief. Today, I'm be very happy to be celebrating the 143rd Jayanthi of Sri Bhagavan, which also happens to be the centenary celebration of Sri Ramanashrama. It's such a good August gathering. Friends, a few days ago we had Christmas, and so there is an incident Mama had said about Muruganar, and there was in December, Ganesh and Uncle Chetapa took a piece of eggless cake which was presented by a devotee, and he went to uh, Muruganar, and Muruganar, on receiving it, just started crying with tears of joy. And he said, Ganeshan, today you know what it is. And Chitapa said, you know, as Mama said, Ramanashramam, it's every day is the same. So, and he didn't know what it was. He said, today is December 25th. And the whole world is celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. He said, one day, the whole world will be celebrating the birth of our Bhagavan. Will be celebrating. And how prophetic, you know, today, you know, several miles away, I can see it already happening. As he said, I won't be around to see it, but I can see it all happening. And so thank you for making the prophecy come true. I want to thank Sunita and the Sri Ramana Maharshi Heritage for making this happen. We celebrated the Jayanthi in Washington, D.C., and it was sponsored by Ramana Maharshi Heritage and also Arunachal Ashrama in New York City. So we had a great celebration, Jayanthi celebration. Mama, Hyderabad Kendra is the Kendra closest to my father's heart. He said that's the center where Atma Vichara was practiced the most. And the Bay Area is an amazing organization where you have Ramana Satsang every week, rain or shine. Even on a day when it's pouring cats and dogs, we are all gathered here quietly, enjoying the umbrella-like protection that only Bhagavan can give us. And today is such a symbolic day. The external world is filled with dark clouds, with thunder, lightning, it's damp and cold compared to the coziness of the inner room. The inner hridayam of quietude and bliss, the kingdom of heaven as described. This satsang is the boat to carry us across the ocean of samsara, which is also an association with the wise and with the self. And friends, as we know, this path of spirituality, the direct path, is like walking on razor's edge. We need to be a dhiran, a brave, a symbolism of single-pointed, with intense focus, steeled with tremendous patience. Bhagavan's teaching is unique in that it's not a process of learning anything new. It's a process of unlearning. It's a process of forgetting the vasanas, the falsehood of the world, which are like dark clouds, like today, which cover the sunlight, the bright light inside us of the Atman. Every day we are put to test on a daily basis in the external world. On the paths of bhakti, or the karma yoga, there are others to compare oneself with. We can judge our progress as how good we are doing. But this is an internal journey where there are no others. This is a path to travel to the Hridayam where there are no one to compare with. And we have to march on slowly, trusting our master. As Mama said, it's a privilege to represent Sri Ramanashramam. And the uniqueness of Ramanashramam is that you have the power of what I humbly think three aspects. One, the holy hill Arunachala, then the living presence of the master, and the fragrance of the sadhana of the devotees, which they have left behind to inspire us on our path to realization. Friends, we lift each other up whenever we fall into samsara. Mama had mentioned about Kavya Kanta in Supri on 15th August 1937, 20 years before independence. Kavya Kanta asked Bhagavan, what is the supreme goal of a society? And Bhagavan says, universal brotherhood based on unity, equality. Now, there can be no equality in the external world. There's only equality in the inner world, in the Hridaya. So even in that, Bhagavan gives us a clue of where we should be, where the path should be. practice of the direct teachings of Bhagavan, the direct path, is sung beautifully by Arthur Osborne in an editorial ascent, which he describes a portion of the Arunachala where it's a steep walk up. So he says where there are no valleys and no rocks to rest, but you just have to keep marching. And where you can see the top very closely from the bottom. But it's very deceptively, it's very simple, you know. So, but on the other hand, because there are no stages also in this path of realization, it's just, you know, we don't know, but one day we'll all be realized by Bhagavan's grace. Now, this steep path as compared to as opposed to the indirect path, there are no stages as we saw, but where the devotees can pick up the fallen, and the devotees higher up on the ascent can inspire the people following to that they can be at that same stage at a very quick stage. So it's a pleasurable journey of kinds. So we are celebrating the 100th year of Ramanashramam formation, as Mama, described in greater detail than what I planned to. But on the 19th of May, when Bhagavan's mother attained moksha, nirvana, the next day she was brought down, and Pali Tirtham in those days was like a burial ground. And some older devotees made the least desirable portion of the hill, but which now is the holiest place on the earth. So they all came down, the ceremony happened, and then they all went up, and every day Chinnaswamigal would come down to perform the puja. And around late November or December, Bhagavan came down, and apparently there were some devotees waiting up. He said he came down with lunch prepared, and he came down and he never went back. And when on asked, he said, "Did I come here of my own volition? Not at all. It was due to the will of something else." So earlier, the power of Arunachala drew him to Tiruvannamalai, and now the power of the Ambal residing in Mathurabhuteshwara did it similarly. Now, the initial growth of the ashram was there was only one hut for several months. Then it became one, and then apparently there was three, and so Ramanashram, as Mama said, was just a loose organization, and then it took structure in 1930 when Swami Niranjanananda, my great grandfather, became the Sarvadhikari. You could call it a construction boom began. Buildings started coming around, the office, the Parashala, the Goshala, the halls, guest rooms were constructed. Friends, we are celebrating the centenary of the ashram as a symbol of gratitude to Bhagavan for his teachings. And I would say it's also a way of thanking the wonderful devotees who broke rocks, took bricks on their head, and constructed a wonderful edifice that we have, our home away from home, the ashram. And just to name a few, we would name Annamale Swami, Kunju Swamigal, how hard they worked to make the buildings appear. The theme is Ramanashramam, the first 100 years, the next 100 years, and for eternity. And we already have started the celebration. It started September 1st in the ashram, and it will continue till next Jayanthi. Of course, every day, friends, for us is a celebration. It's a celebration of our birth in Sri Bhagavan, into the eternal life where scourges of death cannot touch us, and moksha is vouchsafed for the true practitioners of self-realization. Excuse me. No electrocution. This is not an empty promise that I'm throwing out as a snake oil salesman, but these are statements given by our own Bhagavan. So any word of a jnani has to be true. The example he gives, I quote a couple of examples. One of them being that the true devotee is like a prey trapped in the jaws of the tiger. There's no escape. Then the other one is when a devotee pleads to Bhagavan that he's helpless. He says, your job is to surrender, and Bhagavan will take care of the rest as he will for us. Friends, we, the devotees of Sri Bhagavan, are a different kind of people than other practitioners of different spiritual paths. For us, the external world holds very little attraction. Sri Bhagavan, who's nothing but our own Atma, pushes us inside from outside and pulls us inside towards the Hridayam, the heart center, the resting place of the Atman. A true devotee of Sri Bhagavan, like our own Prativashan Mama, is exemplified by a simple demeanor with no external display of that tremendous spiritual strength inside. 2002, in Arunachal Ashram after Jayanthi, along with Dennis Hartle, who was very close to all of us, we'd gone to, there was a chief guest called Sri Chinmoy. He was in those days a very popular guru who would fill stadiums, and he had come to address the Jayanti, and we had gone to see him out, and he was very emotional. He said, he just addressed us. He said, the spiritual strength, the Adhyatmic Shakti in this hall today, several hundred times more than the stadiums that I fill. And he said, don't underestimate it and maintain it, he said. And that kind of made a big impression. I felt I should share with you. So we're all pretty unique. Please remember that. Now, we are celebrating Bhagavan's Jayanti. Though Bhagavan opposed any celebration connected with him, including the celebration of his Jayanti, one could argue he was never born. But the celebrations were a way for the devotees to show their affection and devotion to him. It was also an occasion for them to strengthen the commitment to practice his teachings with greater intensity. For the highest form of Guru Bhakti one can show is to practice the Guru's teachings to the dots, to the commas and dots, Friends, our Bhagavan's life was his teaching. There was no dichotomy between the two. There can be no better practitioner, a living example of self-realization, Atma-vichara. And the other path that he recommended, the one of self-surrender, who can exemplify it better than the 16-year-old boy who gives up everything and surrenders his own self to the will of Arunachala. And Arunachala did take care of him till the end. And that's the same protection offered to all of us. In 1912, when Bhagavan said on Jayanti, and he said, you who intend to celebrate the birthday, first ascertain to whom, whence you were born, the day that we all attain a place in that everlasting life, which is beyond the reach of births and deaths, is our real birthday. So he used that opportunity to teach a very Vedantic truth. Now, 20 years later, it took that long for Major Chadwick to come up with a rejoinder. And he said, he wrote a beautiful short poem. He said, "You tell me not to celebrate the day I was born. Seeing it led me to thy feet, why therefore should I mourn?" We, friends, we, like Major Chadwick, we celebrate the living presence of Sri Bhagavan. He was not the physical body. He is eternally present in the ashram and everywhere. And there were, as Mama said, there were many devotees whose lives overlapped the physical presence of Bhagavan, and then the sorrow, and then uh, the 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 presence after his physical demise. And beautiful books have been, chapters have been written on that. And the common theme in all of them is that His grace, the transmissions of guidance, has not diminished, has not waned, but has waxed, and it has only increased exponentially. I'll read a small passage from an editorial written by Arthur Osborne, and it's titled "Bhagavan Lives." Quote, "The grace at Arunachala is so potent, so vibrant today, so searching and intimate in its effect that one wonders whether those who find a change in it have been there ever to see. The devotees have found a lightness and a happiness in the very air of Tiruvannamalai, an immaculate peace beyond the rough handling of destiny, an immortal wealth despite their loss. But is the same as actual guidance by Sri Bhagavan? It is. It is, Arthur Osborne says. And it is in the most direct and personal way. Indeed, the guidance seems more active now than formerly in those people who meditated little before, but were contented rather to the sound of his voice, to rather feast their eyes upon him and listen to the sound of his voice, and are now being drawn more and more to sit in silent meditation before his samadhi and gather in old hall, redolent with his presence. As one sits there, it is nothing vague or diffused that one feels, but the same intense inner stirring, the same lifting up, the same blissful certainty that was felt under his watchful eye. There is the same variation from day to day in mode and potency of guidance. There is the same response to devotion and to any earnest plea for help. Now, the other passage is for people like us. Can this be felt elsewhere? Is Bhagavan's grace just confined to Tiruvannamalai? It never was. His grace flowed out upon all who turned to him. To imply that the guidance was confined to Tiruvannamalai now or formerly would be attaching too much importance to the physical body. Now, as formerly, it is felt in the heart of the devotee, the hridayam of the devotee, independent of all other aids. There is a great beauty and potency in a visit to the ashram. Many have compared it to the charging of their spiritual batteries. So, friends, today, on behalf of the ashram, I invite you all to leave behind your Teslas and its batteries to charge here, and you're all welcome to come and charge your spiritual batteries in the peace of Ramanashramam. Sincere request. Yeah. Thank you. Today we celebrate the birth of him who is deathless. Bhagavan attached his devotees to not pay importance to his physical body, warning that one day it will disappear. In Bhagavatam, Sri Krishna also similarly advises Uddhava, who was very attached to Krishna's physical beauty, that he is not the physical body and he never was. And he says, you must always remember, friend Uddhava, that whatever is thought by the mind, perceived by the eyes, the ears, and spoken by the tongue is a creation of the mind and senses. You will see the world in your own self and yourself in me, the Supreme Lord. Possessed of this knowledge, you will be immersed in the contentment of self-realization. This is chapter 11 of Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 7. This year also happens to be the birth centenary of an exemplary devotee of Sri Bhagavan, Sri Sadhu Om Swamigal. This poet devotee first came to Bhagavan in 1945 and wrote several hundred soul-stirring songs on Bhagavan and his teaching. And I'll quote an incident Sadhu Om Swamigal said, which shows his humility. And he said, I'll quote his own words. When people used to say to me, you are lucky because you were with Bhagavan, I would sometimes find some ego rising in me with pride. However, by Sri Bhagavan's grace, I thought of a good reply, he says. In a hospital, there is an outpatient department to treat minor cases, but the worst cases are admitted into the inpatient department to be treated under the personal supervision of the doctor. The same happens in this spiritual line, so I am such a helpless case, he says. That Bhagavan had to admit me into his inpatient department to treat me under his personal supervision. Those who are not in Bhagavan's physical presence are lucky because they are protected from the delusion of mistaking him to be his body. On Bhagavan's birthday, Jayanti, in 1970, he wrote a beautiful Tamil poem. It's called Sri Ramana Jayanti Agaval. And it starts Arunachalame Arulame Kondu Gurume Ramanat Tirunamamum Perak. I mean, it's a long one, but I'll just give the translation. It says, Arunachala itself with grace took birth as Guru Ramana, who with love destroyed the long time sorrows of those devotees who came to his lotus feet by removing the ignorance of the thickest darkness of hell and showing the incomparable Brahma Shiva state of self-realization. He destroyed the thought of Deham, I am the body idea, that arises due to Chit Jada Granthi, the knot connecting the consciousness with the body, through the method of Naham, Neti Neti, and the self-inquiry of Koham. This arrow aimed at its target results in Soham, I am that state of I awareness of pure Brahman. To explain these concepts and living by example, Guru Ramana graciously arose as a son of knowledge. Another small couplet translates as, by the grace of the wise Guru Ramana, let all things that happen, happen. To not rise up as I am the body and to be alert is our only duty. From the mountain path is, I'll read one more song, which, true humble devotee did not mention her name. And it reads, "You who alone know how to love, blessed am I to know that you love me. You will never forsake me, no matter what manner of misfortune befalls me. When I am shunned, derided, cast aside by others, you are ever there, for folding me in tender protectiveness. When aloneness, fears, doubts, temptation, and other foes assail me, you are there to disperse them and put them to flight. You are my true eternal love. In you alone do I find repose. How to thank you, O boundless love. How to thank you, O boundless love, by offering something to you that you do not have, my mind." So now, coming to some administrative thing. Friends, I want to, the organization Ramanashramam is only as strong as the sum of its parts. And we have the best devotees, and I feel it's my duty to periodically inform you what is going on. So I like to let you explain, inform you the activities that we have started and will continue as a part of gratitude to Bhagavan and to strengthen the association of the devotees with the institution. And this will come under the birth centenary of the ashram. As we know, publications are a very, very important thing, and there have been so many books written in so many world languages and Indian languages, and which are out of print, and we're going to try to bring them into the light of the world, both as most of them, any new book will be brought out as an electronic edition, and then and if it cannot be printed, it'll be digitally scanned on the website for people to read. And we'll try the, as you know, the Who Am I in various languages. The latest one was in Urdu. It'll be available for free download everywhere. And we will continue to have the celebrations of the Jayanti, the centenary, through various functions all over India, also in North America, and which will be coordinated under the umbrella of Sri Ramana Maharshi Heritage, and all over the world. Already centers in Australia, Mauritius have expressed intent, and I'll, as your representative, I'll try to be there in person, and it will be my honor to 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 enjoy this most wonderful part of my job, is to be with Bhagavan's children, as we all devotees. And as we know, recently we had two such functions, one with Arunachala Ashrama in New York and one in Washington, D.C., which was coordinated under the Sri Ramana Maharshi Heritage. It was a real, wonderful, happy celebration. And devotees were really happy. And as a part of my job, I get reports, and it really is uh, brings tears to my eyes to see very people of very poor means in rural villages celebrate Bhagavan's functions with such intensity. In Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, and it's really wonderful, gratifying to see Bhagavan's Swanubhuti spread everywhere. It cuts through every strata of learning, economic disparity. It's really, it's an honor. It's an honor. And to also a part is there is a center in Tamil Nadu called Rajapalayam, and they have planned to distribute Aksharamana books to 1.5 lakh children, and whole of southern Tamil Nadu will be through the medium of schools, teachers will be exposed to this beauty, this Adhyatmic teaching. And of course, Chennai Kendra is also actively doing this. The next step, and of course, being how can it be the Bay Area, the area of digital experience. So I'm very glad to say that you must have seen the apps. We have a daily Parayana app, and we're trying to. It's the ashram evening Parayana has been brought out in both media, and we're also going to bring out a Telugu and Sanskrit version of that, and Hindi, so people can follow Bhagavan's original compositions in their mother tongue, so to say. You must have also have seen the Mountain Path app, where you can get the free downloads of the Mountain Path, along with it the Sharanagati monthly magazine and the Maharshi magazine brought out by Arunachala Ashrama. We'll try to work towards one common app. This is for the techies here. And you would also be seeing through the YouTube, we are able to get the daily transmission, live transmission of the evening Parayana. And on January 7th, I'll welcome you to watch the Ashram Jayanthi celebrations live. And please, if you already haven't done, there is a beautiful video comes from the ashram through our own Tyagu. It's called In Focus. Just brings out the atmosphere of ashram so beautifully, so intimately. You can always feel it in your living room. So please do that. And we also have to thank an AI engineer, Manikandan of Madras Kendra, for his wonderful work towards the creation of the app. Friends, we know 2014, while I was here, we had started the Facebook page of the ashram. They said at that time, I said there was a goal to using Professor Swaminathan's words that a million eyes, should get the beauty of Bhagavan's beautiful, divine transmission. So, and since then we have grown, and now we have Facebook pages in English, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Gujarati, Marathi, Malayalam, Kannada, Spanish, and Czech. There used to be a Russian page, and you know why it's not there. And now we have around 1.8 million followers. So it's been just it's a miracle to see how it just, and people are just getting the beauty of Bhagavan's divine face, at least through the app. And a few years ago, an Arabic gentleman, had translated Arthur Osborne's book, Ramana Maharshi and the Path of Self-Knowledge, into Arabic language. Now, how am I going to take those books and go to these countries? So we put it on the Facebook. And there were 370 downloads of this book in countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, Turkey, you name it. I mean, and there are seekers everywhere. That's our humbling thing, that, this is not, just exclusive to us. There are people all over the world seeking, searching for truth. And what better way to get Bhagavan into their lives through a digital way. Now, the next step is, of course, there are going to be new guest rooms. 51 new rooms have been planned. And next time you are there, please enjoy the thing. And so definitely by next October, we should have 51. And including one, the TNK, Dr. TNK, and those, I think, grandson or great grandsons? Grandson. So if he's here, I'd like him to know that will be a new building will come there, just in honor of his grandfather, where Muruganar, Kanakaman all have lived in. So that's It's a beautiful, holy place. We're going to come out with souvenirs, and there's going to be a souvenir, and with our Dr. Ram Mohan, the retired railway. He's going to be the editor, and that will come out. A beautiful pictorial souvenir by Dave Gugay. If you have not seen his photographs, you should see. It just brings Arunachala in almost three-dimension, beauty. So he's coming out with pictorial, like a coffee book, and of the hill and of the ashram. The Hindu newspaper of Tamil Nadu they brought out a pictorial book on Bhagavan, which got sold out, and they're coming out with second edition, which they'll have more articles on the centenary. So glad to do. Now, coming to green initiatives, or ESG as they call, what better exemplar example can be of green than our Bhagavan? Such a minimalistic person who used so little, and the ashram has to do it. And the more new trees are being planted, and as you know, the hill is greener now than it has ever been, and I can very proudly say that one could almost walk up to Skandashram with a green cover. So thanks to some of the devotees and the ashram workers. So we're going to have more trees, and you would notice even inside the ashram there are more trees, and there are going to be benches put all over, so that somebody can sit and quietly meditate everywhere. And recently, I was very gratified when a couple of college students came and said, "This is the place where they can quietly revise their uh, study material before they go to." Because the ashram is almost the green lung of the place. And sad, I'm happy to say it, but also sad to say that, So, but at least they can quietly, get the shade and and the quietude to learn in peace. There is we were able to revive an ancient temple called Pandava Tirtham recently. It's right behind Sheshadri Ashram. It was the Puranas would say that the Pandavas were there, a beautiful lake. So please say, Manichitapa had done something a few years ago, but again it had fallen down, and we were able to do a formal thing, including the temple, and there was a Kumbhabhishekam performed, and it will be maintained by the local people there, and that's such a gratifying. These are people who live in the hill footsteps, and they are going to maintain it. But they said any ashram devotees can use it for their sadhana, and they'll be very glad to show it around. So please, next time when you're there, please check it out. Friends, many of you have volunteered in the Narayana Seva, the ashram, and it just continues to grow. And we also, the Narayana Seva scope has been increased, to include 400 to 500 meals to the local hospital for relatives of patients, because they have no hygienic food sources close by. This during the pandemic, one would say it was almost the source of nutrition for many devotees who were, including some Westerners who were couldn't leave the country. So that's a quality, and really that continues to grow. This is all thanks to the generosity of all of you, your donations. And thank you. And as Sunita said, my vasana previously was that of a doctor, and how can I not mention about that? So the ashram dispensary, and it was started during Bhagavan's time. That is going through a major expansion. I would say over 8 full-time doctors are there, and we are going to expand the next building also. It's going to undergo a thing, and over 200 patients are given 90-day free medicines. And I'm excited to say that we have developed 18 different medicines, which some of them which cost $20 a day here, are given to poor patients for free, 90 days supply. They undergo free lab work. We are able to get medical camps from cardiologists from Chennai, uh, free eye camps and free eye surgeries. Patients are taken to Coimbatore, operated and sent back by free. Then there are acupuncture, uh, Ayurveda camps. So it just continues to gently grow, and it's so nice. And more importantly, we've been able to develop protocols of a low cost treatment, especially of diabetes, high blood pressure, and I could say the poor patients are almost getting the same care that one you would get here. And it's just a proof of Bhagavan's grace. Lastly, I would the library, and again, I hope you all have used it. There are over 40,000 spiritual books, and some of them are getting worn out with use, and we're going to replace them. And so I've given you that. And to again use Bay Area technology, we are all nothing. And again, before that, I would say, not a blade of grass moves without Bhagavan's will. And none of us ever think that we are doing it. Our job in the administration is not to just stand in the way of Bhagavan's grace flowing. That is the role that we play. And I'd like to conclude by saying that, we are nothing but hardware guys. Apologies to all the hardware engineers. We just support the most wonderful software, which is unique for every individual. That is our Bhagavan's unique teaching. We just are trying to probably channelize that energy and make it available everywhere, and the software does the rest, and that is just our role. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा रमणाचार्यपर्यन्ता वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा अरुणाचलरूपेण परिणाममुपागतम् तेजोमयं परं ब्रह्म ज्ञानाय मम जायत।
Friends, imagine the early mornings of Margari in Tiruvannamalai. The birds chirp and announce in sweet voice the arrival of dawn. The air carries the wind chill, but folks do not mind that. They wake up even before the darkness evaporates like a veil cleared by the seeping sunlight. The sky glows as if it became so glad to see again the ever-present Arunachala, the holy hill better. In Manikavasakar's time, young women remember Lord Arunachaleshwara as they wake up early and start reciting the names of the Lord when gathering together in the streets. They go together to the temple tank and take a bath, then have the darshan of the Lord. They praise and sing the glories of the Lord. Saint Manikavasagar immortalized this Pavai Nombu tradition in the wonderful composition Tiruvambavai, and Sri Andal in Tirupavai in the Vaishnavite tradition. Bhagavan's Manikavasagar, that is, our own Sri Muruganar, sang the glories of Sri Bhagavan in Ramana Tiruvambavai. Today, Bharati and Venil are going to present one of the 33 Tiruvambavais, as it is Margari now. The meaning of the song, as translated by Professor K. Swaminathan, is here. As if a peg afloat in one ocean should reach and enter the hole of a yoke afloat in the expanse of yet some other great ocean, so indeed your grace rushed in and lift us straight to your own state transcendent. This grace, this alone, we cherish and ever marvel at. Oh, sweet and mighty Venkata, your golden feet alone we love. May our other longings vanish. May we maidens bathe and rejoice.
நாம நீரிட்டதொரு நல்ல கழி மற்றும் ஒரு நாம நீர்வானுகத்து நற்றுளையில் கோர்த்தார் போல் நாம நீரிட்டதொரு நல்ல கழி மற்றும் ஒரு நாம நீர்வானுகத்து நற்றுளையில் கோர்த்தார் போல் ஏமமோர காரிருளோமையேக பரந்தாமமானின் ஸ்வரூப சந்நிதிக்கே சேர்த்த அருளாமதனை அன்றினைய பாதல் வியபாதல் மாமதுர வேங்கடவ மாட்டே நான் மண்ணுயிர்க்கு ஏமமோர காரிருளோமையேக பரந்தாமமானின் ஸ்வரூப சந்நிதிக்கே சேர்த்த அருளாமலனை அன்றினைய பாதல் வியப்பாதல் மாமதுரவே கடவா மாட்டேன் நான் மண்ணுயிர்க்கு சேமம் செய் பொற்றாள் செழுங்காமம் ஒன்றொழிந்த காமங்கள் எல்லாம் கடியேலோரெம்பாவாய் சேமம் செய் பொற்றாள் செழுங்காமம் ஒன்றொழிந்த காமங்கள் எல்லாம் கடியேலோரெம்பாவாய் நீ 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 சா சரி நீத நித சனித பபா பசனி நீ நீ சா சரி நீத நித சனித பபா மகம மகம பப ம பனி நி பனி சரி கரி கரி சரி சனி சனித பம பனி ப மக க சகம ப மகம நி ப மகரி ச மகம பனித நித பத பம பமக மக மாமதுரவே கடவா மாட்டேன் நான் மண்ணுயிர்க்கு சேமம் செய் பொற்றாள் செழுங்காமம் ஒன்றொழிந்த காமங்கள் எல்லாம் கடியேலோரெம்பாவாய்.
சிவபிரகாசம் Here, Bharti and Venil are going to present verses from Sri Ramana Padamalai into a ragam. This composition is an ardent musical devotee of composition. Shivaprakasham Pillai relays the one question of Bhagavan. In order to see your true self, do you really need a book?
ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. திருச்சுழி என்னும் தலத்து உதித்த செல்வன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, அருளார் சுந்தரமைய பெற்ற அழகன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. திருச்சுழி என்னும் தலத்து உதித்த செல்வன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, அருளார் சுந்தரமைய பெற்ற அழகன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. சா சனி நி சனி நி ப பனி சரி ரே சரி ரே கரி ரே கரி ரே ச ரே ச சனி ச சனி ரே பம ரே கரி கரி சனி ச. அன்பன் நண்பன் காந்த சாந்த திரு பெரியோர் அடிகள் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, அன்பன் நண்பன் காந்தன் சாந்த திரு பெரியோர் அடிகள் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, gari re re sa re sa 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 ni sa ni pa pa ni sa re gari re ma re ma pa pa ni sa ni pa pa ma re pa ma ni pa sa ni pa ma re gari sa ஜோதிமயமா காட்சி அருளும் சுவாமி பாதம் வாழ்கவே ஆதி பகவன் அருளை பெற்ற அன்பன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ஜோதிமயமா காட்சி அருளும் சுவாமி பாதம் வாழ்கவே ஆதி பகவன் அருளை பெற்ற அன்பன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ராமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே மம மாமரி மா பம பனி பனி சனி நி பாம பம பசனி சரி சனி நி நிசனி பாப சனி பமரே கரி கரி சா அறிந்தும் அறிந்தோ நாகக்காட்ட அறிஞர் பாதம் வாழ்கவே சிறந்த பக்தி நெறி உணர்த்தும் செம்மல் பாதம் வாழ்கவே அறிந்தும் அறிந்தோ நாகக்காட்ட அறிஞர் பாதம் வாழ்கவே சிறந்த பக்தி நெறி உணர்த்தும் செம்மல் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ராமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே மம பரி கரி சரி கரி சனி பனி சரி கரி சரி மா பாப நீ பனி பனி நீரை ம பனி ரே சரி சனி பாரங்கள் எல்லாம் பரமிசை போட்டு பக்தியாய் அவன் திருப்பாதம் நேரங்கள் எல்லாம் நினைத்திருவென்று உரைப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே பாரங்கள் எல்லாம் பரமிசை போட்டு பக்தியாய் அவன் திருப்பாதம் நேரங்கள் எல்லாம் நினைத்திருவென்று உரைப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே நீ சனி நி பம ப சனி நீ சா சா பாப ரே 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 பமரே நி சனி கரி சனி சனி பாப நி சா ப நி பமரி கரி சா அஞ்சி அடைவோர் கபயம் அருளும் அண்ணல் பாதம் வாழ்கவே நஞ்சும் அமுதமாக கொள்ளும் நாதன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே அஞ்சி அடைவோர் கபயம் அருளும் அண்ணல் பாதம் வாழ்கவே நஞ்சும் அமுதமாக கொள்ளும் நாதன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ராமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே சரி கரி சனி சனி பாபா பனி சரி ரே கரி ச கரி ரே கரி ரே கரி ரே கரி ரே பாபா பரி சனி சரி நி ச என்னோர் கருத்து மனம் அடக்கல் என்போர் பாதம் வாழ்கவே உன்னை காணவோ நூலே நின்று உரைப்போர் பாதம் வாழ்கவே என்னோர் கருத்து மனம் அடக்கல் என்போர் பாதம் வாழ்கவே உன்னை காணவோ நூலே நின்று உரைப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ராமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே சத்குருவே கடவுளே ரமண குருபரனே அத்தனே அழகனே என்னுள்ள துரை பரதனே நிர்பாதம் வாழ்கவே சத்குருவே கடவுளே ரமண குருபரனே அத்தனே அழகனே என்னுட துரை வரதனே நிர்பாதம் வாழ்கவே ராமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே, ரமணன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே. அருணாச்சலம் வாழி, அன்பர்களும் வாழி, அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி.
It's good. Namaskaram. We'd like to offer 2 songs in prayer. First one is an Italian composition. Here's what it means. This is the one name, O nameless, that voids all names. Minding the invisible one alone makes sundry forms vanish forever. One diamond cuts all hard stones. Using a thorn, you pull another thorn out. This name, this form, this penance, to cut through the thick dross of all names and forms. How wonderful, feet of my master, drink heartily, O lucky one, being gone. Here in the feet land, cured of mentation, abide silently, carefree, free. Questo è l'unico nome o senza nome che annulla tutti i nomi. Pensando solo all'uno invisibile, fa svanire per sempre le varie forme. Questo è l'unico nome o senza nome che annulla tutti i nomi. Fremante taglie molte le pietre duri, usando una spina tiri fuori una spina. Questo nome, questa forma, questa penitenza, tagliare le espresse scuori di nomi informi. Questo è l'unico nome senza nome che annulla tutti i nomi. Che meraviglia piedi del mio padrone, viri di chiuri ho fortunato essendo andato. Qui nella terra dei piedi, guarito dalla mente, dimorare in silenzio, spensierato, liberato. Questo è l'unico nome e senza nome che annulla tutti i nomi. Pensando solo all'uno invisibile, fa svanire per sempre le varie forme. So now the second song is Sri Tyagaraja Swami's composition. Then we'll conclude here. Yes, of course. Yes, yeah. And which I'll sing at another occasion. Thank you.
What is it?
அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம் அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம் அந்த சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம் அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம் அந்த சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம் 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 அருளும் ஆசியும் வழங்குமிடம் இது பகவான் ரமணனின் புண்ணியஸ்தலம் அருளும் ஆசியும் வழங்குமிடம் இது பகவான் ரமணனின் புண்ணியஸ்தலம். அமைதியின் இருப்பிடம், ஞானத்தின் பிறப்பிடம். அமைதியின் இருப்பிடம், ஞானத்தின் பிறப்பிடம். அதுவே ரமணனின் திவ்யஸ்தலம். அதுவே ரமணனின் திவ்யஸ்தலம். அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம், அந்த சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம். ரமணாசிரமம், ரமணாசிரமம். எங்கும் கிடைக்காத நிம்மதி இங்குண்டு தருவார் எங்கள் குருவே ரமணன். எங்கும் கிடைக்காத நிம்மதி இங்குண்டு தருவார் எங்கள் குருவே ரமணன். ஈசனின் உருவம் ரமணன் பகவன். ஈசனின் உருவம் பகவன் ரமண. ஆனந்தம் பெறுவார் வாழ்க்கை உயர. ஆனந்தம் பெறுவார் வாழ்க்கை உயர. அனைவரும் வாரி அருளை பெறுவீர். அனைவரும் வாரி அருளை பெறுவீர். நெஞ்சில் நின்றது ரமணனின் உருவம். நெஞ்சில் நின்றது ரமணனின் உருவம். அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம், அந்த சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம். ரமணாசிரமம், 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 ரமணாசிரமம். சுபமங்கலம் நித்ய சுபமங்கலம். அருணகிரி ரமணனுக்கு சுபமங்கலம். சுபமங்கலம் நித்ய சுபமங்கலம். அருணகிரி ரமணருக்கு சுபமங்கலம். அருணகிரி ரமணருக்கு சுபமங்கலம். அருணகிரி ரமணருக்கு சுபமங்கலம். சுபமங்கலம், சுபமங்கலம்.
शरणागति शरणागति परना शरणागति परना इनी புகத்துணைதான் ஏது நீ புகழாய் துணைதான் ஏது நீ புகழாய் சரணாகதி ஸ்மரணாத்கதி பலம் அருணாச்சல நீரை ரமணா ஸ்மரணாத்கதி பலம் அருணாச்சல நீரை ரமணா கருணா வருணா ஸ்ரீரமணா கருணா வருணா சரணாகதி தருணம் இது அன்றோ உன் கருணை நோக்கவே தருணம் இது அன்றோ உன் கருணை நோக்கவே கால ஹரணமாக்கிடில் ஹாயன் செய்வேன் கால ஹரணமாக்கிடில் ஹாயன் செய்வேன் துன்பை நீக்கி இன்பை அளிக்க என் அன்ப உலகத் துன்பை நீக்கி இன்பை அளிக்க என் அன்ப இன்னும் பராமுகம் என்னால் தாழாதையா ஸ்ரீவேதிய இன்னும் பராமுகம் என்னால் தாழாதையா ஸ்ரீரமணா சரணாகதி பரனா இனி புகத்துணைதான் ஏது நீ புகழாய் சரணாகதி
ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। ॐ हंस हंसाय विद्महे परमहंसाय धीमहि तन्नो हंस प्रचोदयात्। ॐ नमो हिरण्यबाहवे हिरण्यवर्णाय हिरण्यरूपाय हिरण्यपते अम्बिकापते उमापते पशुपतये नमो नमः। ऋतकं सत्यं परं ब्रह्म पुरुषं कृष्णपिङ्गलम् ऊर्ध्वरेतं विरूपाक्षं विश्वरूपाय वै नमो नमः। ईशानः सर्वविद्यानाम् ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपते ब्रह्मणोऽधिपते ब्रह्मा शिवो मे अस्तु सदा शिवो। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ नमः शम्भवे च मयो भवे च नमः शङ्कराय च मयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च। ॐ निधनपतये नमः निधनपतान्तिकाय नमः ऊर्ध्वाय नमः ऊर्ध्वलिङ्गाय नमः हिरण्याय नमः हिरण्यलिङ्गाय नमः सुवर्णाय नमः सुवर्णलिङ्गाय नमः दिव्याय नमः दिव्यलिङ्गाय नमः भवाय नमः भवलिङ्गाय नमः शर्वाय नमः शर्वलिङ्गाय नमः शिवाय नमः शिवलिङ्गाय नमः ज्वलाय नमः ज्वललिङ्गाय नमः आत्माय नमः आत्मलिङ्गाय नमः परमाय नमः परमलिङ्गाय नमः। एतत् सोमस्य सूर्यस्य सर्वलिङ्गस्थापयति पाणिमन्त्रं पवित्रम् सद्यो जातं प्रपद्यामि सद्यो जाताय वै नमो नमः। भवे भवे नाति भवे भवस्व मां भवोद्भवाय नमः। वामदेवाय नमो ज्येष्ठाय नमः श्रेष्ठाय नमो रुद्राय नमः कालाय नमः कलविकरणाय नमो बलविकरणाय नमो बलाय नमो बलप्रमथनाय नमः सर्वभूतदमनाय नमो मनोन्मनाय नमः। अघोरेभ्योद्घोरेभ्योद्घोरघोरतरेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यो नमस्ते अस्तु रुद्ररूपेभ्यः। सर्वो वै रुद्रस्तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु पुरुषो वै रुद्रः सन्महो नमो नमः। विश्वं भूतं भुवनं चित्रं बहुधा जातं जायमानं च यत् सर्वो ह्येष रुद्रस्तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु। कद्रुद्राय प्रचेतसे मीडुष्टमाय तव्यसे वोचेम शान्तमगं हृदे सर्वो ह्येष रुद्रस्तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु। त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मोक्षीयमामृतात्। एते सहस्रमयुतं पाशा मृत्यो मर्त्याय पतन्तवे तान् यज्ञस्य मायया सर्वान् नवयजामहे मृत्यवे स्वाहा मृत्यवे स्वाहा। ॐ नमो भगवते सदाशिवाय श्रीरुद्राय विष्णवे मृत्युं मे पाहि। ॐ तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्र प्रचोदयात्। ॐ नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। ॐ शंच मे मयश्च मे प्रियंच मे नुकामश्च मे कामश्च मे सौमनसश्च मे भद्रंच मे श्रेयश्च मे वस्यश्च मे यशश्च मे भगच्च मे द्रविणंच मे यंता च मे दत्ता च मे क्षेमश्च मे धृतिश्च मे विश्वंच मे महश्च मे संविच्च मे ज्ञात्रंच मे सूश्च मे प्रसूश्च मे सीरंच मे लयश्च मरुतंच मे मृतंच मे यश्मंच मे नामयश्च मे जीवातुश्च मे दीर्घायुत्वंच मे न मित्रंच मे भयंच मे सुगंच मे शयनंच मे सुषा च मे सुदिनंच मे सदा शिवोम। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम न कर्मणा न प्रजया धनेन त्यागेनैके अमृतत्वमानशुः परेण नाकं निहितं गुहायां विभ्राजते तत्यतयो विशन्ति वेदांत विज्ञान सुनिश्चितार्था संन्यास योगाद्यतयच्युद्ध सत्वा ते ब्रह्मलोके तु परा अन्तकाले परामृतात् परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे दहरं विपापं परमेश्मभूतं यत्पुण्डरीकं पुरमद्य सग्गस्तं तत्रापि दग्रं गगनं विशोकस्तस्मिन् यदन्तस्तदुपासितव्यम् यो वेदादौ परप्रोक्तो वेदान्ते च प्रतिष्ठितः तस्य प्रकृतिलीनः स यः परः स महेश्वरः।
पुरवास दंपति सुंदरी सुंदरेशात्मजाय मंगलम वरपराशर गोत्र जाताय प्रमादिषु धनुषि पुनर्वसु भवाय जय मंगलम नित्य शुभ मंगलम जय मंगलम सर्व समभावाय सर्वलोकैकहित साधकाय साधु सद्गुरुवराय रमणाय भगवते पादसेवक राम भावनाय जय मंगलम नित्य शुभ मंगलम जय मंगलम नित्य शुभ मंगलम जय मंगलम नित्य शुभ मंगलम। வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாசம் வாழ்க வாழ்கவே சூழ்க சுத்தாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாசம் வாழ்க வாழ்கவே சூழ்க சுத்தாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே ஏழுலகும் ஜீவன் முக்தி இன்பம் பொங்கவே ஏழுலகும் ஜீவன் முக்தி இன்பம் பொங்கவே இதயமாகும் இறைவனாகி எல்லாம் ஓங்கவே இதயமாகும் இறைவனாகி எல்லாம் ஓங்கவே பாழ்மனத்தகந்தை வாழ்வு பாழ்பட்டொழியவே பாழ்மனத்தகந்தை வாழ்வு பாழ்பட்டொழியவே பரம சச்சிதானந்தாத்ம பால் பொழியவே பரம சச்சிதானந்தாத்ம பால் பொழியவே வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாசம் வாழ்க வாழ்கவே சூழ்க சுத்தாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே தட்டில்லாத நித்திய ஜீவ தத்துவமோங்கவே தட்டில்லாத நித்திய ஜீவ தத்துவமோங்கவே தன்மயத்தில் சின்மயம் தழைத்திலங்கவே தன்மயத்தில் சின்மயம் தழைத்திலங்கவே எட்டு திக்கும் ஹம்ச சோகம் எதிரொலிக்கவே எட்டு திக்கும் ஹம்ச சோகம் எதிரொலிக்கவே எல்லாம் பிரம்மம் என்னும் உண்மை இறை வகிக்கவே எல்லாம் பிரம்மம் என்னும் உண்மை இறை வகிக்கவே வாழ்கம் ஸ்வயம் பிரகாச வாழ்க வாழ்கவே சூழ்க சுத்தாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே சூழ்க சூழ்கவே சூழ்கவே.
Yeah, so that concludes the program, but everyone can come forward and offer aarti. So as I said, there's lunch next door. Please don't leave without having prasadam. And there's a few calendar copies that I have. So if people haven't bought and want to purchase one, let me know. Thank you, everyone.